broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome everyone into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology turned podcast. Everyone, welcome into the program. I hope that you're doing well and you are ready for today's program. If you're not, you might get a small electrical shock, but hey, that might be a good thing. So everyone, welcome into Computer America. We're going to bring you some amazing stories that may have flown under your radar with our science and technology trends correspondent, Mr. Ralph Bond. And today's show is going to be really fun. Every Friday, Ralph joins us to talk about these stories and hopefully put a more positive spin on your heading out of the week and heading into the weekend. So everyone, welcome into the show. ComputerAmerica.com. Just want to make that very squarely in your head, because that's where you'll find everything, including the show notes. At the top, we have a section for Ralph Bond. All of his segments are right there, and the most recent one you can find in that section with the show notes, with links, videos, pictures, anything and everything that we reference in today's program. So if you're busy, if you are distracted, don't worry. Hey, we have sources if you would like to check it out for yourself. Just in case something seems a little bit too fantastical. Well, hey, don't worry. You can find it right there. So with that being said, let's go ahead and just bring Ralph on and have fun with this. This is going to be a very nice, relaxing Friday. Everyone, I hope that you've had a great week and you are ready for today's show. So let's go ahead. And once again, our science and technology trends correspondent, long-time contributor to Computer America, Ralph Bond. Welcome back. How you doing?
Doing great, and it's great to be back. And for people who are brand new to the show, whether you're listening to us as a podcast or watching us on YouTube, what Ben and I do each Friday is highlight 4 recent articles that show us key trends and developments in everything: artificial intelligence, robotics, medical technology, sustainable energy technology, transportation advances, agricultural tech, construction tech, space research, physics, you name it. It's all ready for us to look at. And most important of all, this is the key. We're going to give you an oasis of positive news thanks to the world of science and technology. So if this week's news cycle has put you into a bummer downer mode or mood, you're in the right place, because we're going to lift you up for the weekend.
we're a force for good, a force for positive, yes, Ralph. Yes. And story number 1, let's shock these people. Let's for their health, though. This almost seems like almost like a Fallout dystopian kind of thing, and it's like for the children. Electric shocks, all of them. So, yeah, story number 1.
Well, I could have used this, believe me. I could use it right now. This story comes from sciencealert.com. Headline. This is fun. This is really kind of wacky. Headline: Zapping volunteers' brains with electricity boosted their math skills. Okay. And in the show notes, we have a link to the research paper. You can really geek out if you want to. A new study suggests that mild electrical stimulation can boost arithmetic performance, math performance, and offers fresh insight into the brain mechanisms behind mathematical ability, along with a potential way to optimize learning. Now, there's a neuroscientist at the University of Surrey named Roy Cohen Kadosh. That's Kadosh. He led the research, and his colleagues recruited 72 University of Oxford students, scanning their brains to measure connectivity between 3 key regions of the brain. And they found that stronger connections between the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, which governs executive function, and the posterior parietal cortex involved in memory predicted better calculation or math performance. Wow. Okay. And in the show notes, I have a kind of a simplistic diagram I got from the internet of the parts of the brain, so you can find the areas that they're referring to. And to wrap this up real quickly here, when the researchers applied a painless form of brain stimulation using electrode fitting caps, a technique known as transcranial random noise stimulation, the low math performers saw their scores jump by 25 to 29%. So who knows? might hook up your kids if they're having trouble with math. Give them a little jolt, and away you go.
Yeah, who doesn't have access to a 120 socket in their home and a child? Yeah, don't do any of this. But
Don't try this at home.
Maybe if you're at the University of Oxford, there we go. I got it out.
Yes.
Give that a go. But yeah, no, it's very interesting, and it's I don't know how you would really apply this in real life. Like maybe literally, I guess when I was a kid, every show had like a thinking cap. You put on a thinking cap, light bulbs and whatnot. Maybe kids will have a thinking cap, but it will actually shock you. So yeah, the results of this research will shock you. In parentheses, your kids. So there you go. No, it's silly, but at the same time, learning how to learn better can only be a good thing. And this is actually very, very cool research. So good job there. So story number 1. Story number 2, let's go ahead and once again, in the show notes, you can find all these stories kind of broken down by stories. And by the time that you hear this, we are able to put up the show notes ahead of time. So you can, of course, see them as this goes live. So there you go. So story number 2, if you're following along, let's talk a little bit about lunar soil. And this is a topic that surprisingly has come up before. And I think, Ralph, one time we've talked about turning the lunar soil into building material. This is a little bit different, but turning what I think a lot of people up until this point thought was just cheese, I guess. I don't know what people thought the lunar soil was made out of, but kind of dusty ash. I always thought of it like, useless, dirty soil, just from the video footage that we've seen. Right. But turning it into something useful and productive is important if we're ever going to live on the moon. So story number 2.
Yeah, story number 2 is really interesting because I'm going to give you a little taste. Fast forward here for a second. I learned all about something called helium-3, which I knew nothing about. So really the headline is good. It's, by the way, it's an article from Newsweek posted on MSN. Headline: Moon mining takes giant leap forward with plans to harvest lunar soil. What's missing in the headline, in my opinion, is harvest lunar soil to extract something called helium-3, which is incredibly important and extremely rare on Earth and very valuable. That's the subhead that should have been there, in my opinion, but it's still a great article, and check it out. By the way, this is a news item from earlier this year, but I found it to be so fascinating, I wanted to share it regardless of the fact that it's several months back. So let's get into this. And oh, by the way, in the show notes, there's a great artist illustration of what one of these harvesting lunar craft, if you want to call them that, would be, what they might look like. So that's really cool. So let's get into this. There's a company called Interloon, a Seattle-based startup founded by ex-Blue Origin executives, and they aim to mine helium-3 from the moon's surface. And a little reminder here, Blue Origin is a private American aerospace company founded by Jeff Bezos in 2000 with the ambitious goal of making space travel more accessible and sustainable through reusable rocket technology. But in this case, they're talking about collaborating with other experts to create these harvesting machines to put on the moon's surface to get helium-3. Now, helium-3, I don't know about you, Ben, I'd never heard of this before. Turns out helium-3, I mean, I thought that was just 3 heliums, but yeah, it's no, I've not heard of helium-3. Yeah, it's fascinating. So helium-3 is rare on Earth, but the moon's surface has been bombarded by solar wind for billions of years, embedding helium-3 in the regolith, or the soil. Estimates suggest over 1 million metric tons of helium-3 may be present on the moon's surface. All right, so far you're going, well, okay, helium-3, it's a big deal, it's rare. Why? Why is it so important and valuable? It could revolutionize quantum computing, fusion energy, medical imaging, and national security. That's an interesting mix. The scientific and commercial relevance of helium-3. Well, it has exponential growth in demand, particularly for cryogenics in quantum systems and potential fusion energy applications. And cryogenics, as a reminder, is the scientific study of materials and systems at extremely low temperatures. Now, this is a good example of what we do on the show. I'm giving you highlights, condensed highlights. To really understand this, come to the show notes. Investigate the links, dive deeper to learn more about not only helium-3, but how helium-3 is so important because it can have impact on the kinds of applications we just alluded to.
Yeah, it definitely seems to be a resource that is so rare on Earth, as you pointed out, that, no one really thought of what can be done with it. But I guess if you have a ready supply, or at least a large supply of it, then you can start to say, okay, we have a lot of it. We can do these things in these fields. And that's what they're kind of getting at. So
exactly.
Very interesting.
Yeah, exactly. And again, indicative of what we do with the show notes is I did some additional research and inserted some tutorials about helium-3 and why it's such a big deal. We're not going to spend time on that, but come to the show notes if you want to learn more about helium-3. I guarantee you won't be disappointed. It's pretty darn interesting. So let's get back to the story. And now we'll talk about the technology and the strategy of what's going on with this with Interloon. So Interloon is designing excavators capable of processing 100 metric tons of moon regolith per hour, measuring helium-3 in parts per billion with a B. Partners with this endeavor include an outfit called Vermeer Corporation. They are experts in industrial excavation, helping adapt terrestrial tech, Earth-based tech, for potential lunar conditions. And the goal is to have a fleet of 5 harvesters working continuously and autonomously on the moon. Get them to the moon, get them turned on, turn them loose. They're going to do their thing. Timeline and funding. Well, the prospecting mission, the first one, is planned by the end of 2027, not that far away, with a full-scale harvesting mission by 2029. Now, Interloon, the company in question, has raised $18 million and secured contracts with the U.S. Department of Energy and Maybell Quantum, another outfit, for helium-3 purchases. And future payloads, this is interesting, Ben, will liquefy helium-3 on site on the surface of the moon before returning it to Earth. And if successful, Interloon, could be the first firm to commercialize extraterrestrial resources. Wow.
Ralph, if you thought the Keystone Pipeline had hurdles to get over, imagine the first lunar to Earth pipeline. My goodness, that would be insane. But no, I'm sure it'll be like capsules and pods that they ship back.
Sure.
And again, if you're watching the video portion, you can see kind of the extractor that they're kind of blue skying here. I'm sure the actual one, if they're able to get one up on the moon, is going to be a bit more clunky looking than that, because this one looks slick as heck. It looks really, really cool. But yeah, and by the way, Ralph, just my own little Googling, I was like, why is there so much helium-3 on the moon's surface? The answer is solar winds. I guess it kind of builds up and it kind of goes off the sun and just builds up in the soil. So cool.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. So, and there you go. So that's that story. And I think this is a really good thing. It seems like a not very renewable source, but also I don't think you're going to have all the concerns that you have here on Earth of Ralph, like how this is going to affect. I'm thinking mainly of ocean floor mining is a topic in the news lately. Picking up these little nodules that grew over the course of millions of years, and what's that going to do to the ecosystem at the bottom of the bottom of the ocean? Blah blah blah. I don't think you have a lot of those, concerns about the moon. I don't want to say the moon, we can go ahead and deface it and put a giant logo on it, but, mining things from the regolith of the moon seems fairly innocuous, I would assume.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. So there you go.
that's a good point.
We'll see what happens in 2029, and if they're able to get a harvesting mission out there, that'd be very cool. Ralph, I will say, between NASA and between private companies, it seems like a lot of people are hoping to get more action on the moon, because hey, it's been 60 years. What the heck, man? We need to get back there and start doing stuff on the moon's surface.
Yeah.
Yep. Story number 2. Story number 3, Ralph. Let's go ahead and go back to the show notes, and let's jump on down to story number 3, where we talk. This may be a little reminiscent of last week's show, where
Exactly.
we did a little bit of medical news there, but this one is a little bit different, I guess, in its initiative. So
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you're right. This, and by the way, usually we end the show, the fourth story is by medical technology related. In this case, we're going to do 2 in a row. And as Ben correctly points out, last week we talked about scientists create first mini lungs with built-in blood vessels, unlocking new insights for pulmonary vascular disease research. And this is kind of related to that whole push for use of organoids and other things like that for medical research. In this case, this announcement comes from the University of British Columbia. Our neighbors, I'm in Oregon, so our neighbors to the north there. The University of British Columbia researchers create 3D printed living lung tissue. 3D printed living lung tissue. Printed tissue enables better testing of drugs and disease pathways. So this is a variation on this big effort to create organoids, or to create printed living tissue for testing purposes, to, by the way, avoid having to use animal testing. That's part of the story too. So here we go. University of British Columbia researchers have developed a 3D bioprinted model, that's the key word here, model of living lung tissue that closely mimics the complexity of human airways. Last week's story was about a lung organoid, and that's a different thing than a living tissue model, okay? Now, what they created a hydrogel-based lung model using bioink made from polymer-modified gelatin and polyethylene glycol diacrylate. Good Lord, I hope I said that right.
You said it better than I could have.
And note, the key here is this is a lung model, as I stressed before, not a mini lung organoid as discussed last week. And this technology that the British Columbia folks have come up with, as we'll learn here in a moment, mimics the biological conditions found in a living organism. So the British Columbia hydrogel-based lung model includes multiple cell types and vascular channels simulating the mechanical and biological properties of real lung tissue. It's a pretty important achievement. And I think, again, it's not that one way of looking at studying tissue for the lungs is better than the other. I think in the end, it'll all come together as a conglomerate, multiple spokes in the wheel of a solution, so to speak.
Yeah, because you don't need, a complete lung to do, kind of drug testing to tell, are the cells responding to this? Are they growing the way? Are they doing this? Or does the drug just outright kill all of the cells? Like, you don't need a whole lung to be able to test, is this, toxic for the cells? So no, all of this has application to some level.
Yeah, yeah. And the article does a good job of explaining, why does this research matter? It enables more accurate testing of respiratory diseases like asthma or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, good old COPD, and, for example, idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis and lung cancer. Wow. Excuse me. Mm-hmm. And the work that they're doing here reduces reliance on donated tissue samples, allowing researchers to recreate and expand tissue from small biopsies. So and that infers personalization of this too. Mm-hmm. This tissue would be linked to an individual and help to deal with their situation, medically speaking. And the research impact, well, this improves drug testing and disease modeling by offering a physiologically relevant in vitro system. And I will give you a little insert here I added to this, a physiologically relevant In vitro system refers to a laboratory-based experimental setup that closely mimics the biological conditions found in a living organism. These systems are designed to replicate key aspects of tissue architecture, cellular behavior, and biochemical environments so that the results obtained are more predictive of how cells or tissues would respond in vivo inside the body. Wow, okay. And to wrap this one up, this innovation could accelerate the search for treatments and deepen our understanding of lung disease mechanisms. And this is such a great compliment to last week's story, as well as we mentioned at the outset.
Yeah, and both of these stories really highlight what they're doing with lungs. Rest assured, folks, that they're doing the same thing for hearts, livers, kidneys, brain tissue, of course. I'm sure all of this research is going on sequentially or not sequentially. At
parallel.
the same time. Yeah,
Yes.
In parallel. Thank you. Word big. No good word. No good word. But yeah, it's all this is happening at the same time, and it's going to lead to a lot of breakthroughs. Like Ralph likes to say, if the funding is there, because you got to support these researchers. If the funding is there, and you're going to see some real big breakthroughs. And Ralph, just to give people a little bit more hope out there, since we've been doing the show, and this idea of CRISPR, we have seen cures for previously incurable diseases, and I'm talking like lifetime cures for that could be just one treatment. There's one in particular that I'm thinking where they did it in the ear, and it cured some kind of hearing disorder where the cells didn't grow right, or the little fibers didn't.
They restored
Ralph,
hearing.
Previously incurable diseases are, of course, being cured. So that's happening today. It's very exciting, and we love that you keep an eye on the space. So that's story number 3. Very good, very uplifting. Let's jump to story number 4. And, of all these diseases, the loss of hearing one that we talked about, there's sickle cell anemia that they're starting to work on and could have a cure for anytime now. Eyes as well. Well, this next one is targeting the Holy Grail, because of all these diseases, they're all horrible and they all need to be eradicated. Cancer is really like, you cure cancer, you win every Nobel Prize known. You even win Nobel Prize of economics. Like, you just get all of them. So cure cancer, you become super famous. Well, maybe AI can help. So let's talk about story number 4.
Well, and you raise a really good point when you have the perspective of, as you and I have over the years, looking at all the research related to cancer. There's kind of 2 channels. One is curing cancer. Well, I guess you could say 3 things: preventing cancer, curing cancer, killing cancer. Okay. And this story is in the killing cancer category. But still very, very important, because until we do figure out how to either prevent and or cure cancer, we got to get it. We got to destroy it, and destroy it as early as possible in the diagnosis of a patient. So this story comes from a really interesting outlet called innovations-report.com. Headline: AI, good old AI, designs molecular missiles to precisely target cancer cells. I love molecular missiles. We've talked about a lot of these miniaturized solutions, like a device the size of a grain of rice that could be sent through the brain to target cancer in the brain or other problems in the brain. This is sort of kind of in that world when we're talking about molecular missiles to precisely target cancer cells. So let's get into this. Researchers from the Technical University of Denmark and Scripps Research, I love collaborations, have developed an AI platform that designs custom proteins, nicknamed molecular missiles, to guide immune cells in targeting and destroying cancer cells. Now, I'm going to warn everybody up front, this is extremely geeky stuff. And if you're a geek, super medical geek out there, and you're interested, come to the show notes, get the links, check it out. It's really cool. But let's give you some key highlights. One of the things that's so exciting about this research is speed and precision. The AI can generate a new therapeutic protein, and we're going to understand why proteins are a part of this story here. They can, again, the AI can generate a new therapeutic protein in just 4 to 6 weeks dramatically faster than traditional methods that take years. That's one of the things we see over and over again with artificial intelligence and drug testing and drug development, and in this case, developing a therapeutic protein. Now, how does this work? These proteins bind to the PMHC molecules. Again, this is geeky. These are structures on cancer cells that present specific peptides, now allowing T cells to recognize and attack tumors. Folks, I don't understand all this at all, but again, it's creating these proteins that are going to be part of the equation to attack and kill cancer tumors. The team engineered these that's T as in Tom, T cells with AI designed mini binders that successfully killed cancer cells in lab tests. These modified cells are called impact-T cells. Geeky. I get it. Okay. But it's just, the takeaway is, wow, this is great. And to ensure safety, a built-in virtual safety check filters out proteins that might bind to healthy cells, reducing the risk of side effects. We all know in cancer treatments and or cancer attack technology, side effects are always a big problem. The other part that I just love, and this is such a key trend we see in medical research, personalized therapy. The method was also used to design binders for a unique cancer target in a melanoma patient, showing promise for tailored immunotherapy. Big trend. Then we see it over and over again with stem cells taken from a specific patient to create a patient-specific solution. This is akin to that whole movement in medical research, which I think is one of the most exciting things. And according to the team's official announcement, the team expects that it will take up to 5 years before the new method is ready for initial clinical trials in human beings. Once the method is ready, are you going to love this, Ben? This is so practical. Once the method is ready, the treatment process will resemble current cancer treatments using genetically modified T cells known as CAR-T or CAR-T cells, which are currently used to treat lymphoma and leukemia. Now, here's the practical part I was getting so excited about before I read that last little paragraph. Patients will first have blood drawn at the hospital, similar to a routine blood test. Well, that's pretty straightforward. Their immune cells will then be extracted from this blood sample and modified in the laboratory to carry the AI-designed mini binders, which are related to these proteins that ultimately are used to kill the cancer. These enhanced immune cells are returned to the patient, injected back into you, where they act like targeted missiles, precisely finding and eliminating cancer cells in the body. And to wrap it up, this innovation could mark, a major leap forward towards scalable, personalized cancer treatments. If that doesn't leave you feeling better about life and the possibilities of what human beings can do, I give up. It's so wonderful.
They can do things that I can barely even understand, but
me too.
But it definitely sounds like they are creating, like you said, personalized cancer treatments that are going to be much less destructive to other cells in the body. And that's way better than our current treatment method, which is just hopefully we kill cancer before we kill the rest of you. With, current the radioactive therapy that we do. But still, this is so cool. And again, another amazing use of AI. It's not just coming for your Spotify playlist, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to help a lot of fields. So there you go.
And Ben, one last little nugget here. Personalized, yes. And again, the key here at the molecular level. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. Just being able to target just the right cells, just the cancer cells is just, that's what we need to do. So hopefully we hear some amazing breakthroughs, not just in the lab, but in actual patients as well before long. But hey, it all starts in the lab, and these stories are very important to highlight. And we're so happy that you do, Ralph, come on every single Friday to highlight these positive stories, because I guarantee you this story made a little bit less of a splash than some of the other stories that you've heard this week. So there you go. With that being said, we have, if you're following along in the show notes, because they should be up by the time that you hear this, the honorable mentions. This is the last segment of the show notes, and these are stories that are good, are great. You should definitely hear about them. You should know about them, and you can come out to Computer America and find them in the show notes. But these are stories that we just don't have time as we try to condense Computer America into a more reasonable format, because we know asking 2 hours of your day is a big ask. Let's go ahead and, Ralph, at least give the nice folks the headlines of the honorable mentions, and then come out to Computer America, find the show notes, and go to the bottom. And if you want to learn more, Ralph, of course, inserts the source article, and then, of course, the research article or the research paper, if it's applicable. You can find it right there. So, Ralph, let's at least do the headlines.
Here we go with 4 honorable mentions. Headline, AI-powered microscope predicts and tracks protein aggregation linked to brain diseases. There we go again with AI. And this comes from a educational institute in Switzerland. Check that out. It's a very, very interesting story. And the research paper link is in there as well. So if you want to really dive deep, but fascinating stuff. Our next one is headline, Rolls-Royce teams up for advanced modular nuclear reactors to power 3 million homes. A great example of a key trend Ben and I have been tracking now for the last year or more. This rush to create small, portable, or mini reactors for power and to diversify that or distribute that throughout the world is a big, big trend. And this is a good one. That one comes from interestingengineering.com. If you're interested in that trend, check that story out. I thought that was really cool. And the next one comes from IFL Science. Headline, cells outside the brain show signs of memory and learning for the first time. If you want to melt your brain and just freak out, remember the old phrase, my gut tells me that I shouldn't do this. There might be something to that. How weird is that?
Just the idea of a brain that's not a brain outside the brain having memories. That is so trippy.
It's just, what?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's a wonderful article if you want to have your brain just twisted around. Okay, cool. So next one, or actually our last one, comes from Popular Mechanics. Headline, a new hidden state of matter could make computers 1,000 times faster. Again, very geeky, check it out, but a fun story.
That hidden state of matter, I think, is in my computer because I installed the cooling fan wrong, and my CPU is just melting into plasma as we speak. I think that's what it does, but it's all going to work out in the end for it because it's running well. I've actually enjoyed my new computer. So, Ralph, thank you so much for tuning in and joining us. Everyone out there, thank you for tuning in and joining us. And Ralph joins us every single Friday, except a little caveat here as we kind of do the outro of our show. Next Friday, we are actually going to be missing a show. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back the following Friday if you're keeping track. And ladies and gentlemen, that'll be the 29th of August. We will have no show. And then, of course, we'll be back, same as always, the following Friday. So thank you so much for tuning in. Most Fridays, Ralph joins us here to talk about these stories, and you should definitely keep doing it. So everyone, have a great weekend. Do something fun. We'll catch you here next time. And until then, have a great weekend. Do something fun. Have a good one. Bye, everyone.